We can go now to Strasbourg, and we can now speak to the UKIP MEP, Gerard Batten. So what sort of reaction are you picking up there?
Are you asking me my reaction to Mrs May's speech, or what was just said? Because I didn't hear just what was just said, I'm afraid.
Let's start with your reaction.
My reaction to Mrs May's speech? Well, she started off very well. She talks the talk, and it's gratifying after all these years to hear her saying the kind of things that UKIP's been saying for so long. But as the speech wore on, it became apparent that she wasn't going to actually deliver Brexit very quickly. She's talking about, again, not triggering Article 50 until March. Then we have another 2 years of negotiations, and at the end of all that, then she's going to ask the Parliament to vote on her deal. So they could turn it down, this Parliament could turn it down, the Council of the European Union could turn it down, and we're all back to square one like a game of snakes and ladders. What she did say, which struck me as very important, was how she's going to do this, which is negotiate the deal. When that's been voted on, then repeal the Act of Parliament that makes us members of the EU, the European Communities Act. And also she's going to transpose the acquis communautaire, all the law of the EU, into British law. Now that's odd because it already is British law under Acts of Parliament. Now if she was really serious about leaving, what she would do is put forward a bill for the repeal of the European Communities Act now. That way that would force Parliament to actually confront the issue of whether they're going to implement the will of the people in the referendum or not. And if they do repeal that bill, then we can amend or repeal every Act of Parliament that has transposed EU law into British law, and that would put us in an extremely strong position for talking to the EU about the things that we want to continue with for pure cooperation between us and them. What she's actually doing is giving all of the bargaining chips to the EU.
It's a bit ironic to hear you talking in those terms when actually what she said this morning was perhaps harder and stronger than many UKIP supporters felt she would go. I mean, she is saying we are out, and that's that.
Well, but when? At the end of this very long, imprecise negotiation period, when Parliament can vote against the deal, when this Parliament can vote against the deal, rather than seizing the initiative and saying we have left legally under our own law by repealing the Act, now we're going to talk, well, first of all, we're going to take immediate emergency action on things like immigration, farming, fishing, trade and defence. She's not done any of that. She's putting all of the bargaining chips onto the table for the EU to tell us what we're going to do. It's like joining the EU in reverse.
That's not what she said.
But they don't want us to leave anyway.
No, I've got to pick you up on that, because that's exactly what she said she wasn't going to do. She says that Britain is in a much stronger position, that there are things that the EU are still going to want from us, and that's what the negotiation is going to be part of. It isn't a EU wins everything deal.
But what it's not very good reception, I can't hear very well. What I've said is don't judge her by what she says, because she is a good professional politician. She's saying the things that she wants people to hear. What I'm looking at is what this process actually means in reality, and where we're going to end up in another 2.5 years. And we have no reason to trust Mrs May. And my big fear, she says that she doesn't want to be half in or half out. Well, that's great, because I actually agree with her that. And if she actually delivers that, I'll be very happy, along with the rest of my party. But what I'm saying is that if she really wants to do that, she should be going about this process in an entirely different manner, in the manner that I described earlier on.
Gerard Batten, UKIP MEP, thank you very much.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.